So I just got to Qingcheng Mountains, really chilled out little places. People over there playing mahjong, and sleeping and drinking tea, just on the street, because I guess that's what they do here. I'm about to eat at this quaint little noodle shop. Got my wontons now. So I'll give you a look. There you go. It's my noodles. And over here, it's my wontons. So that's what we eat when we on vacation in China. Feel like Kung Fu Panda. Try out these wontons. Hot. Those are really, really, really good. Really good. Excellent. More vinegar. Excellent. In Qingcheng Mountain, just everybody chilling out, playing mahjong, sipping tea. Hanging out on their phones. Yeah, so it's quite a cute little town, lots of places to stay. It's obviously a resort place.对，所以四川话我不太懂啊。哈哈哈哈。Pretty smooth. The Daoist taking over, I guess. There we go. Now we're in the mountain. So no more cars driving by, thank God. I was getting sick of that. So I guess we're in the front of the mountain. Some beautiful waterfalls. And we're gonna go up to one of the Qingcheng. That's pretty cool. This is 人法地，地法天，天法道，道法自然。Behind me you can see it says 道法自然. So that basically means that the Tao gave birth to nature. And so the philosophy behind Daoism is that nature takes its course. That you can't really fight nature, and any attempt to do so is basically futile and it's not going to work. So all of these things, like the idea that we try to transform nature into elements of civilization, these are essentially futile pursuits. That essentially what we need to do is we need to get closer to nature and shed all of these conventions that society gives us. So in Daoism, the Tao sort of represents everything and nothing. It's kind of all of existence and the opposite of that too, right? It would be, I guess, the equivalent to what we would call God, except it's not really, it doesn't really have, it's not really personified, right? It's more like, I guess you could say, the matrix or the force, right? It's material and energy altogether. So there's a section in the Daoism, which is the founding book, chapter 42, that basically talks about, it has a sentence in it that says, 道生一，一生二，二生三，三生万物. What that means is, the literal translation for it is the Tao creates one, or Tao gives birth to one gives birth to two gives birth to three, and three gives birth to the 1,000 things, or 10,000 things, which is everything. That's what that means. So what that really means is, okay, you've got Tao gives birth to a singularity gives birth to dichotomy gives birth to harmony, and then harmony gives birth to everything. And the Chinese cosmology and epistemology sees, opposites as being harmonious, and so, or at least mutually dependent and complementary. So you can't have hot without cold. You can't have black without white. You can't have beauty without ugliness. You can't have, well, those types of things. And that from those two extremes, it's not the ideal of each extreme, but rather the mixture of both extremes that leads to the 10,000 things, that leads to everything. So, temperature isn't neither hot nor cold. It's somewhere in between those two poles, and it's a mixture of both. Nobody's either beautiful or ugly. They're all a mixture of beauty and ugliness. And that beauty and ugliness then make up a whole range of sort of appearances of beauty, or appearances. And then that would be the 10,000 things. What Daoism sort of preaches is that within that harmony lies an essential contradiction that perpetuates conflict and thus suffering. In fact, without suffering, you can't have pleasure, and vice versa. And so the way to achieve enlightenment for the Daoists is to get rid of those contradictions. Without beauty, you can't have ugliness, and vice versa. Without ugliness, you can't have beauty. And the same would go for life and death. Now, the Daoists believe that what you want to do to achieve enlightenment is they work on a principle called Wu Wei. And what that means is that when you do nothing, and you don't act, then you necessarily do not engage in those contradictions. And if you can stop the interaction of polar opposites through non-action, then you can achieve enlightenment and ultimately prolong your life. So a lot of the Daoists would come out to a mountain like this, particularly this one, and they would seek enlightenment by doing nothing. And it's said that the Daoists that come out here to do that live extraordinarily long lives. Once you shed yourself of life, then you can escape death. That's, I guess, the logic behind it. And so you have a lot of Daoists that, basically the guy that came here and founded this mountain, Zhang Daoling, he was said to have lived to 123 years old. And when he died, they didn't find his body. He just ascended into light. And all they found wear his clothes. Pretty cool. So now we've hit some caves. So I think we're hitting the top of the mountain here. Big idols everywhere. So those locks, couples come up here and they click these locks on, and it means that I guess they're locked together forever. There was a cute story one time that I heard in the Chinese book of this couple who had come up to, well, it wasn't here, it was Huangshan, and they clicked these locks together, and then throughout the years they ended up going out and getting divorced. And I think before they got divorced, they decided to go up to Huangshan and unlock their lock and take it off. And on the trip up to Huangshan, they fell in love again. So it's kind of sweet. So that basically concludes my trip to Qingcheng Mountain. It was quite interesting. Really nice. It's a nice hike, nice environment. Yeah, it was pretty cool.